on Packers will lose 38-9. I will say on terms of injuries, Brock Purdy is good, and 49ers have excellent news, especially compared to the Green Bay Packers, who have the longest injury list ever. If you've heard it recently, basically every single guy that they have is out. But aside from Danny Gray, who was not lifted out of his IR window, and I guess they're just going to redshirt him this year, and then Cleveland Farrell is the only other guy who he's going to be missing a game, which I feel like he kind of alluded to after that game where he got injured with his knee. I think it's an MCL strain. But Dre Greenlaw, who had tendonitis, Achilles tendonitis, and was held out of yesterday's practice and the game against the Rams. He's back out of practice. Obviously, George Kittle has been back out of practice.
They're all healthy, basically.
Logan Ryan, I thought was interesting groin. He's back at practice. And the reason I thought that was interesting is because I wasn't sure if they were going to decide maybe to go with him or if they were going to go back to Jair Brown, also who had an MCL strain and is now back. But it sounds like they're going to be going with Jair. Which, do you think that that's right? Going with the rookie over Logan Brown?
Yeah, you mean go back with the original starter? Yeah, go back. This is good though. That the 49ers are actually like healthy and like you get Armstead back. Obviously McCaffrey. No one's really worried.
Do you
about
think
McCaffrey.
Armstead is going to be 100% or like playing through? But I think didn't he have the same thing last year and he did well in the playoffs last year?
I doubt he's 100%. But the fact if you can get him out there for even 80, that's huge. That's huge because what's the one thing that the Packers are going to how they're going to try to approach this game, how they're going to attack the 49ers defense is running the ball. That's where they're probably susceptible at, right? We've seen them a few times where it's like, even though they don't allow like 100-yard rushers, that's where the Packers are going to try to attack. They can see maybe kinks in that defense that they can exploit, which is through Aaron Jones, who's on a 4-game 100-yard rushing streak right now. And you just did that against a fairly good defense in the Cowboys. So you're surging. You're going to go.
And that's been like the one 49ers kind of weakness, not like their defense has been very good, but if you had to pick something that they've struggled with, it's been the run game.
Yeah, I think that's where, and plus, as Jordan Love's been doing good, I wonder, because the Packers don't have like any great receivers. They have a bunch of like fairly good, solid receivers.
I think Christian Watson is good. He's just been like injured.
No, he sucks this year. He's bad.
Entire
he had a good 5 games last year. This year, it's like he's hurt and he's not really a factor. He's just a guy. He's just a guy until proven otherwise. But that's not to say that he could just run up a streak and then someone gets beat deep. Ambry Thomas, Charvarius Ward capabilities. Not this guy. Jeez.
Marco.
Okay, Marco.
Everyone like and subscribe because Marco and I are going to have a show on Friday.
He calls himself Clutch Sports, but he's nothing clutch about him.
You're right. I have to, I want to ask you, because the Green Bay radio guy did such a terrible job, what would be the strategy for the Packers to beat the 49ers, in your opinion, if they were?
God, well, I don't really have too much hope. If it's very little hope that the Packers could beat the 49ers, but for starters, it's going to always be about what are the 49ers going to do? Are they going to show up rusty and overlooking the 49ers? Overlooking the Packers? Overlooking them? I think that got eliminated because of how serious the Packers looked against the Cowboys, right? So I think in terms of rust, maybe you see that for a bit. That'd be their Packers' best chance. Like, okay, like the Niners aren't coming out too fierce, too high level, but the Packers are probably going to because they're surging and have some sweet momentum going on right now. And so imagine that if you're the Packers and you can match the 49ers blow for blow initially, then you're straight in it. Because I wrote earlier today that
I thought what they did with Dallas that I thought was really smart, which is something I feel like people have advocated for the 49ers to do, but I don't think because Kyle Shanahan is like in the same way that he would never purposely try to go for it when they were pretending to punt. Remember when the punter ran? They won the coin toss. They won the coin toss. Jeez,
coin toss.
For a second there. They won the coin toss and they decided to keep the ball and kind of punch Dallas in the mouth right away, which the 49ers, like their game plan to win is usually if they're starting out on defense, stop the defense right away and then go score on their first drive. Like we've always talked about, the 49ers kind of have a game script on like, if it's going to be a good day or not for them. And it's if they get off to, a 7-0 start right away on their first drive. Obviously they've been able to, as long as they're not down at halftime, they've kind of been able to come back from that in that first quarter. But yeah, I think that it's kind of interesting. Like, it seems even though the Packers can have found themselves in a lot of those close games, like with the Lions, they won by a field goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
But their game plan to beat the 49ers seems like it would be similar to the 49ers strategy. It would be like getting up on them early and kind of holding a lead against them, because then we've seen the 49ers kind of flounder. I think there'd have to be turnovers on the 49ers part, because even if offensively, because Green Bay, like if you had to pick a side of the ball that was good for Green Bay, the best side of the ball, it would be their offense. Obviously, their defense has struggled all season, definitely gotten better the last 10 games, but still struggled. So I think not only would their offense have to keep up with the 49ers offense, but their defense would have to trick Brock Purdy into some turnovers. And then Brock Purdy has been known, and he's even admitted post game after throwing 2 interceptions to kind of get in his head and let those spiral. To me, it would have to be like a mental lapse on the 49ers offensive side, whether that's Brock Purdy or Kyle Shanahan versus, I don't think like the Green Bay offense would be able to keep up with the 49ers offense if both of them were performing at their like best.
Yeah, that's why I really think the 49ers, it's not crucial, but if you want the game to be over in a snap, you're going to open up a 14-0 lead. And I think that's what they got to do. They pretty much got to copy what the Packers' game plan was against the Cowboys. And I think the Packers made sure to put an emphasis that, hey, we are going to come up with a 14-0 lead because we don't think the Cowboys are mentally strong enough to come out of this game. Hell, after the first drive that the Cowboys failed, you already see CeeDee Lamb like throwing a hissy fit. And it's like, dude, it's 7-0. It was your first bad drive. Like, relax. Like, why are you guys so on edge? That's something I think could be a case for the Packers, at least if the 49ers were to go up on a 14-0 lead. Why? Because first of all, the Packers are always on a fat momentum right now. They're surging. Like, there's something to say about that. And they have nothing. They pretty much are playing with house money. There's nothing for them to lose. Like, of course, it's a game for them to lose, but there's obviously all the pressures on the 49ers. So the Packers could use that to their advantage. Like, we just came off a great win. We're flying high, lock in. We're just going to go out there and play our game. They're going to probably play more lax than the 49ers would be. Because again, the Niners are expected to win this game. Under no circumstance, barring injury, can you lose as the 49ers? Hell, even if they lose Brock Purdy for this game, I think they could beat the Packers with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, with Sam Darnold. I wonder if that's why Kyle Shanahan started him in the Rams game, aside just to make sure Brock Purdy was healthy, but like to see, okay, like what can I get away with Sam Darnold? That kind of makes sense going into the playoffs. The last time that the 49ers were in the playoffs, they lost their quarterback. It makes sense that Kyle Shanahan might want to be like,
that was a third quarterback though, not their first or second quarterback. It was the third quarterback going on their fourth emergency one they just added like weeks before.